I just want to make a quick video about what happens in Italy to to unconsensual victims of gender violence and stalking, and how that is parallel, really, in my experience, to every European and UK country. Although the UK, even though the police has 2,000 cases nearly of violent crimes against women that could be prosecuted and weren't, including mine, that was on when Will Kerr was the chief constable. Will Kerr was himself accused by an officer of rape, and surgeons have of sexual assaults, and surgeons have left, women surgeons have left the force in Devon and Cornwall police, and wrote an article about, there was an article about it in 2022 that an old lady where I was house sitting gave that talks about this. If you Google it, it's like 2,000 cases of violent crimes against women closed that could be prosecuted, and the surgeons and female officers that were advocating the change of policies were saying, if our policies do not protect women, if our laws don't protect women, we have to change our laws, because there is about 2,000 cases of very violent crimes against women that did not get investigated and could have been prosecuted. 2,000, it's a lot. It's a small island, the UK. I mean, and I don't know if it was just about the whole UK. I should have to find the article again, and I hardly have any time. But anyway, I'm going to talk about Italy now. And in Italy, I'm going to tell the story of a friend of mine, but I'm not going to tell her name. She was a friend when I was younger, when I started my pregnancy journey when I was 36, which is also when I started my Eurasian shamanism studies in Central Asia, because I wanted on Ginsberg footsteps document the parallels between the ancient pre-Christian cultures of the Alps, of the Eastern Alps in particular, and Eurasian shamanism. They are very parallel. I always get to talking of my studies. It's just you have to excuse me, but it's just a default. It's a professional deformation. I think every academic, both successful and not, is like that, just in their studies all the time. So sorry, but anyway, going. Yes, Martino, you're right. And so in Italy, I'll tell the story of Anna. It's not her real name. I'm just saying the name. Anna, it's just a common name. And Anna was raped by a friend when she went to visit him in the south of Italy on her own, which is a thing that I don't recommend anyone, because I traveled all over the world, including Bangkok, but I have been more scared in Naples than in Bangkok, to be honest. Yes. And more scared even of Hanoi. I was more scared in Naples. Martino. And Martino wanted a bit of attention because she's a big star. Yes. Martino. And so what happened is she ran into a church, and the nuns said go away because she was shaved and red-headed at the same time. So this little carrot with very, very short hair, terrified, like a Pippi Longstockings without braid, and the nuns want to send her away, so they called the police, and she said, okay, call the police so I can get help. But instead of helping, the police arrested her and took her to a psychiatric house, because the nuns and the sindaco or someone like that, I think it's a sindaco, that there needs to be two people in authority that say it can be an health provider, it can be like the psychiatric provider, or it can be, I don't know, and maybe like the woman is agitated because she has survived stalking or an extreme violence, and you're not recognizable. You I went to Greece with my mom, to the most beautiful place on earth, that is Crete. I mean, it's not the most beautiful Ireland is, but almost. Crete and Ireland, they are about beautiful, the same, different. And I could not enjoy myself. I was constantly crying and afraid of every car that followed us, because in England I had been stalked by the guy that looks like Salvini, and by from our that was living near Avalon Priory, and was with that group of people. And I was stalked by the actual guy who assaulted me, that tried again to assault me on the 17th of September, when there was the review of our case. And so, like, your brain under so much pressure is not the same. It takes a huge amount of strength and resiliency to even be doing these videos. I tried in the past, but I didn't have the courage to put my face out there. But just not the courage, but just the strength. It takes so much strength, it takes so much fear to overcome, to do that, so much shame, because there is so much shame to talk about the violence that gets done to us, because it's an intimate terror. So you are talking about your intimate terror online. You're not just talking about the acts of someone disturbed that does that turns your life into hell. And so when you go to a hospital in Italy, my advice is to be very, very careful and very, very sober. Even if you're very, very agitated, just really keep quiet, speak at least little. Speak little, because everything can be used against you. Be detailed about what happened with the doctor, but dry and short and to the point. Avoid making far-fetched connections if you are a victim of stalking for many years, because even though stalking is the most common crime nowadays, and it has been for thousands of years, as all good books of ancient espionage will portray, and all French books of the 17th, 18th century for sure. Stalking is just one of the most violent crimes, more ancient crimes, apart from prostitution. That is also, in my opinion, the most ancient crime that there is against women. So what happens is that the legal photographer will come, will photograph you. And one thing that I want to say, that it's very, very important, even though after an assault your first reaction is to get washed, to wash yourself and stay under the shower for as long as you can. Actually, you shouldn't go to the shower at all. You should call the police right away, before you have a shower, before you clean up, and get forensics police to ask to for your skin to, like, if for DNA traces of his body on your body. That is very, very important. Do that immediately. Don't make the foolish mistake that I made to have a shower. you know, like the tattoo that I have, it's in the shape of his hand, exactly like this. His left hand, he had a towel here, and his hand covered with these gloves of that you use when you do push-ups. And the amazing thing, incredible thing, that is the same in Sweden like in Italy, is the approach, like the suspicion approach, because they always, when they send you the psychologist and the psychiatrist, the psychologist female and the psychiatrist male usually, at the hospital after an assault, even when the signs of rape are very clear, or of extreme abuse, because maybe your nose was broken and there is burns on your body and the like, or breakage of the skin and the like, or wounds that are visible and leave marks. They still start from, well, they say that they do that also because you might need support after such an assault, right? But actually they are checking that you're not crazy first. So they will advise or not if you should have further psychiatric assessment to check. And usually they always ask for further psychiatric assessment, because even if you don't speak, they would use it against you, because they would say that you're so traumatized that you don't speak. And so with the excuse of offering you for psychiatric support, they actually start psychiatrizing you. That is the process for which the state will start taking away your liberty. So I just want to be very clear about that, because nobody talks about these things very clearly except Maria Doronzo. That is a great woman. She is a psychologist, and she is the follower of Giorgio Antonucci, who fought psychiatry as a concept. And he went to the agitated women department of the psychiatric house in Bologna in the I think it was the mid of the 20th of the last century, the second middle of the last century. It could have been the age of my father, or a bit older maybe. And you know, but he went and to these agitated women departments that were considered the most dangerous, and the women were like chained to the bed. They were shaved, and they were not given mirrors, and they were wearing white clothes, like uniforms, like the doctors. And Antonucci, and they were given antidepressants and medicines that make you a veggie. I'm totally against antidepressants. It's the worst thing you can use. There is something called quetiapine that it's used for ADHD, as well as antidepressants, and it's just really bad for your brain. Don't use that stuff. Anyway, what they do is they are going to check if you're crazy first. So they will ask you questions, and the problem with that is that a lot of male doctors and even female psychologists that are in touch with the reality of violence and feminicide that is so common in Italy. In fact, it's the first national alarm, and it's probably the first European country with violent crimes against women, where the husbands don't only kill the women when the women cheat with someone else, but also when they cheat with someone else. Sorry, it's not funny at all, but it's just so common. In France and Italy, the crime of passion, is still conceived, and I think it's insane. There is no crime of passion. There is psychos. My God. Anyway, what they do is they psychiatrize the woman, not the man. They psychiatrize the reaction of the woman, not the violence behind that reaction. And that's disgraceful, and that is legalized violence. What Antonucci did that was revolutionary is that he said these people are not prisoners, they are guests. So he gave them keys, he freed them from the chains, he gave them back clothes that they could choose for themselves. He let them grow the hair they wanted. He gave them mirrors. He stopped the medications and said there is no such things as mental illness. He was fighting the DMS-5 that is classifying mental illnesses. He was saying there is no such things as mental illnesses. Illnesses are only physical realities, and everything else is problems to solve together. And he did that. And so we went for walks with his med people. And it just made it a loving place, with mirrors and clothes and everything that they wanted, and talking about the problems And then he made a movie called I poveri sono matti, that means the poor are mad, that very much describes the situation. I mean, I wasn't half as poor when I arrived here. Because stalking brings so much damage, and I'm not talking just about the car, that we are at about 4,000 euros damage so far, because I have fixed the car before going to fix the roof together with my landlady in November. After the vandalism, I spent some 400 euros, because 450 plus 500 euros I spent in total of fixing the car and the keys that have been demagnetified. And then I spent for the MOT, which was compulsory, and then I spent for the return for importing the car, because we failed the MOT because she destroyed it on top. She made some major damage, and so then to import it was like 2,000, and then to fix it was 600. So we are already at 3,000. Then there was all the higher taxes, road taxes, that are incredibly high. Just all the extra damage now, that I've just used it, a couple of times to go to the lawyers. And it was in correspondence with those times. Like in September, it was in correspondence to the police, and all these crimes to the car are happening at a great distance from one place to the other, as well as the theft of the mail and stuff. But still, I am the crazy one for talking about it and recognizing the pattern and documenting it with screenshots, and even expecting that the police will recover my money. Never happened that, but and this wasn't the case here. That I was seeking for, but the suspicion approach is the same everywhere, and I just don't get how is it possible that such a common crime, where the men really need psychiatrization collectively as a society, we need to psychiatrize the men who do that, so that they realize what they did to the women, because the women victim of violence, as well as getting the violence, they also get the further double violence, that is the psychiatrization from the state. And to come back to Anna was called the police upon from the nuns, The sindaco, that is like the chief of the city, decided that she was agitated and she was dangerous, and she was given a compulsory sanitary treatment. I don't know if that's the correct translation in English. That's in Italian it's called TSO, and it means trattamento sanitario obbligatorio, which means compulsory sanitary treatment. So they are sanitizing you by force. Just imagine that. It's like when you go to Vietnam or Afghanistan to export democracy. And use your Western forces and army to help them, you know. I don't know if you understand my political comparison, but I hope you do. So what happens is that this woman was put in an institution to live in, so she lost her freedom. And when I wanted to take her to Vietnam with me, she couldn't. She was not allowed to travel. She was still in the institution. And I just couldn't believe myself when she told me this story and how she just had to accept it, you know, in Bergamo. That is the north. It's not even the south that is very retrograde still. Like very, very, it's like the difference between the north and the south. It's like the difference between Italy and London. I don't know. It's just so big, you know. And the other thing to know is just be very careful when you go also after this moment. Just try to keep it very, very short. And always tell them, like Maria Doronzo advised me, tell them that you will seek personal, that you will seek your own assistance, like your own support, that you will organize your own psychological support, so that you don't come across as someone that who is refusing treatment, because that will classify you as potentially dangerous. That's what they will do to you. So you need to know that. And that is not just in Italy. I mean, in Italy it's particularly bad in a way. But at the same time, at least in Italy, they are more organized, because it's very important to have a legal photographer. Even though you don't get access to these photos, I wish I had access to them. They should have given it to me, but they didn't. So I don't know even how to request it or without a lawyer. And it's very hard in Italy to get a pro bono lawyer like it is here, or everywhere else. In Sweden, it's also very difficult, because nobody wants to do for free with just a little refund from the state, something that they would get a lot of money otherwise for, unless they are very sure to win. And with stalking cases, they're not easy stalking cases to prosecute. You might get a restraining order easily if you have a decent lawyer, but in terms of prosecuting the offender, that is hard, you know. But it's important to get restraining order, because once you do and he comes again at you and hits your phone and shouts your name and follows you, just that he can get arrested. So my advice is that if you ever well, first of all, that you follow, that if you are in Italy, that you follow Maria Doronzo or wherever you are, because her videos are translated, and Relazioni Umane, and Giorgio Antonucci. Giorgio Antonucci was also the first that brought the so-called Med people to Strasbourg, a court of human rights, in 1991, to have everybody learn the fact that, you know, like so-called Med people lose rights that even the worst criminal detain in court. and even in prison, because they are stripped of the power to will, which is what my landlord I keep saying landlord, my landlady was doing to me in that crushing. My lawyer said that there is different methods, and I think like he didn't think that this lawyer was very good either. I think, I mean, didn't say very. It was very very diplomatic about saying things, I guess. Dutch people are, but not as much as the Brits and or the northern Italians. We are much more diplomatic in the north of Italy, I think. And he was saying that it is not regular what was done to crush this crushing method. That was always attacking my mental sanity, and it's just a way that should be legal, that should be completely illegal, that should be banned as illegal in the courts to do that to women when gender violence is so incredibly common, such as as well, the longevity of it is so well documented throughout history and throughout the world that it should be a criminal offense for a lawyer to use that crushing method with a person that has demonstrably a history of stalking, and that person should be given the opportunity to document in court her history of stalking without the presence of a lawyer. She should be given a stalking expert that is assessing out of Europe or European evidence prior to coming to that European country, where the actual evidence is assessed. Because if someone had just paid a little bit of respect to me, I have 2 name changes. Two, full, to hide the natural origins, and for reason of stalking and defamations that it's from 2007, for God's sake, from 2007, then again 11 years after, and in 2026, 8 years again after my last name change, my name is again public in a court with slander like that, which I have been trying to get away, and my government has tried to protect me from by changing my name twice in full, which is absolutely unheard of in Italy. It's unheard of. Just Google it. With that kind of strong evidence of stalking and defamation that my government accepted, I do not get name protection in Holland. That is disgraceful, and that is a disgusting crime. And it's a disgusting violation of my privacy and of my civil and human rights. And that's what happens, because you get psychiatrized if then you are angry because of that there is no respect for your work, there is no respect for your personal credibility and for your professional reputation. And what remains about you is just these disability labels with psychological problems that really the guy has, because you are mentally ill if after all the trouble that you have caused here, also to the person that you call a friend, because how much distress has caused this to her, even if she was to not believe that he has done all the threats himself. You know, that it's obvious from the fact that he actually intercepted the phone before this, and then the 2 phones before this, and then this parcel. He stole them. There is 2 reports from DHL and APS in the distance of about a week, and he signed for it with an actual temporary restraining order request from another country. And all the non-contact requests, you make my signature and withhold my parcel, and then slander me with the authorities to incriminate me, to arrest me, when I'm pregnant. And that is not hate. And that is not the proof that you are persecuting me and coercing my freedom and violating my privacy to the extent that my personal choices get discussed in the eviction, in the legal eviction. That is all the story of your stalking against me. I mean, so it's all the same. It's all the same, people. It's always the men that get believed and the women that get psychiatrized. So make videos about your stories, publish them on YouTube, but do not share them with the state's social services and psychiatric whatever that they will shove on you at the moment that you denounce a violence. And don't let anybody make you feel crazy and stupid and silly for speaking out about it, because how stupid you might feel or sound to other people who have not gone through that. Someone who has will not care about how dysfunctional your speech may sound or how unprofessional or not pretty. They will just care the fact that you are going to help them by just sharing your story.